Well, hello and welcome again to our reading of Homer. We're reading Odyssey, Book 7, and we're up to line 112, and this is the second part of the very beautiful description of the house and grounds of the palace of Alkinous. And again, it's got lots of fairly difficult vocabulary here, and which I'll do my best to make sense of. So ektos then, Daules, Megas Orkatos, Ankithuraon Tetraguos, Peridorkos Elelatai Amphoterothen. Ektos then, so on the outside of the aule of the courtyard, understand there is a great orkatos. And orkatos has a range of meanings. It here means an orchard, but it can just mean a row of vines. So here it's an orchard. There is a great orchard near, and takes a genitive, near the doors, and it's tetraguos, so it's 4 guai. Now a guai is a piece of land whose size a man can plough in a day. So we'll simply say large perhaps here. So, a great large orchard near the door, Peridorkos, and around it, now herkos is a fence. Amphoterothen here means it's coming around from both sides with the sense of meeting in the middle. So you've got to imagine this fence coming around and then meeting up in the middle, so it's an enclosure. The elelatai is from elauno. This is a perfect passive. Elauno is to drive, and this is a passive. So we might say has been erected. So around it, a fence has been erected going all the way round, literally on both sides. Enter the dendria macra pefukasin te lesthoonta. And there are large trees are growing. This is from Fuo, it's a perfect here. And there te flourishing, large flourishing trees are growing. Ocnai, this is pears, kai royai, pomegranates, and now meilei, these are apple trees, and they're agla or carpoi, with glowing fruit, with shining fruit. So apple trees with shining fruit. Sukiai, te glucerai, kai elei, tethel oosai. And there are fig trees, sweet fig trees, and flourishing or blooming, it's the same word we had up here, elei, olive trees. Taon potikarpos apolutai udi apolepe, kaimatos udi therius, epetasios. Alamal ie zephyriae pneusatamen fue ala de pese. So of which their fruit, poti, never, apolutai, it never, well, it perishes, so never perhaps goes bad. So the fruit of which never goes bad, nor apolepe, nor does it fail. Common use of apolapo. And then we get 2 genitives here. This is actually a genitive. It's thereos, but it's written as us. Just an alternative genitive spelling. So genitive time, during which, so during the winter, nor during the summer. But it's epetasios. It goes on for years. This has got the etos root in it, and epi. So it's almost eternal here, but going on for years. But rather continually the Zephyra, this is the lovely zephyr wind, blowing, it causes to grow tamen some of it, and we get a nice men and de, and this is from peso, to ripen, so it ripens other parts of it. Okne ep okne geraske malon de epimelon melo arte epistomphule staphule sukon episuko. There is a pear, literally a pear grows old upon a pear. So in other words, you get one pear after another. And there is melon is apple upon apple, or apple after each apple, but you get a stophele is a bunch of grapes after another bunch of grapes, and a fig after a fig. Entha de hoi holukarpos aloe erisdotai tes heteron men Thelopidon Euro Enikoro Tersatai Aelio Heteras Dara Te Trugoosin Alas de Trapeusin Paroitha de Tomphakes Asin Anthos Amphiasi Heterai de Hupapekasdusin. And there is for it, I think, for the hoi that is in this garden, there is a Polycarpos aloe. Now, aloe originally it can be a threshing floor. Here it's got more the sense of a vineyard or orchard. And there's lots of interesting structure in the way this is put together in terms of the language, which I'll leave you to have a look at the commentaries. It's complicated to explain here. So there is for it, that is for this vineyard, a vineyard with much fruit. Erisdotai, this is from risdoo. This is a perfect passive here. It literally has been rooted, we would say has been planted. Tes heteron men. Now the structure here is slightly complicated, as I mentioned. The heteron men is actually balanced down here by the paroithi de, not with the intervening debts we're going to see here. So of which, it's feminine agreeing with aloe, so of this orchard, heteron, on one side there is a this is a funny word here, so on one part of it there is a warm spot, a thelopedon. This only occurs here in Homer, this word. So on one part of it there is a warm spot on the level ground, from Lyros, and it is dried, this is passive here, it is dried by the sun. Heteras, now this is plural here, this must refer to grapes, because the verb here is, well, the verb is trugao. Alpha and omicron contract verbs often get interchanged in Homer, so you've got an ot here, but I think the verb is actually trugao, and it's a verb meaning to gather up the grapes, to gather the vintage. So it's something like other grapes they are gathering. So they are gathering up other grapes. So some of the grapes, and other ones, trapeusin, they are trampling. So this is in the sense of treading. In fact, we get our word tramp is connected with this. So they're trampling to make it into wine, of course. So one part of it they are gathering up, ara, accordingly, and other parts they are treading. Paroithi de Tomphakos asin, So the paroithi, in front of this, there are omphaces, and omphax is an unripe grape. So there are unripe grapes. Amphiaci, this is a participle from aphiami, sending forth literally, perhaps shedding, anthos, their flower, heteri, and there are other ones, hupoper kazusi. Per kasdo is to darken, to grow dark. Used, well, it can be used metaphorically, but it's used often of grapes going from a light to a dark colour. So they are gradually growing dark to get the hoopoe into it. So others are gradually growing. So on the other side there are bunches of grapes sitting, or unripe grapes, shedding their flowers, and other ones are changing colour, they're growing dark. Enter de cosmetai prasiai paraneaton orcon pantoiai perfuasin ep tenanon ganoosai. And there are ordered, this is that cosmeo root, being used as an adjective here. The prasiai, a prasia is a garden bed. It's a word you'll see in Theocritus as well, for example. So it's a garden bed, so this is a plural. So there are ordered garden beds beside, or perhaps beside the lower orchos. The orchos here is just a row of vines, and their pantoi, they are growing all sorts. So there are all sorts of ordered gardens are growing beside the, or perhaps below the row of vines, on the lower side of the vines. This is from ganoo, luxuriant. You get various adjectives from this and nouns. So being luxuriant, so it's a participle agreeing with the prasii, luxuriant all year round. Endedua crani hemen tana kepon hapanta skidnatai. He de heterothin hup aules udon iesi prosdomon hup selon hothen hudru on topolitai. And in it there are two crani, from crane, a stream. There are two streams, and then we get Haymen and Hayde. One of them, skidnatomai, this is from skidnomai, it's connected with skedanumes, the other form of this verb. It means to scatter, so perhaps, and it's passive here, so perhaps is distributed. So one of them is distributed, ana, up and down, all the garden, the kerpos, and the other, EAC, well, it literally sends forth. You have to understand water, I think, here. Heterothen, well, perhaps on the other side or over against it, some translators say. And the other over against it that sends forth, understand it's water. The hoop, I think, goes with the udon, so under the, this is the threshold, the entrance way of the courtyard, prosdomon hupselon, in the direction of my house, hothen, from whence the citizens who drew on to, they draw water for themselves. It's middle here, I think. Toido in alkinoo theon esan agla adora. Such then, or such accordingly, are, this is esan for esan, the beautiful gifts, the radiant gifts, sparkling gifts of the gods. N, now N doesn't take a genitive, this is a genitive ending here, so you've got to supply oiko here, in the house of, or perhaps in the palace of Alkinous. Enthestas theater, so that's the end of the very long description. It's almost like a kind of ekphrasis here. You don't get too many of these in Homer, but this is one here. We get this extended description of the magnificent palace of Alkinous. And now we return back to Odysseus. Enthestas theater polutlas dios Odysseus. And Odysseus, glorious, much enduring, standing there. This is from theeomai, which is a moderately common verb in poetry. It means to gaze in admiration upon. So there, much enduring, glorious Odysseus, standing there, he was gazing in admiration. Aute epe de panta heo theasata thumo carpelimos hupa udon ebesat domatus aso. Hure de phaekon egetoras edi medontas spedontas de paesin eoscopoi agefonte hoi pumato spendanescon hoti menesai eto koitu. But when he's an aorist now without augment, so it's almost when he had finished gazing in wonder at all of these things, then in his heart, the here is a personal adjective again. It's like heos and then os, hos, and it simply has to agree with thumo, so it's in his soul. Kapelimos quickly ebasatot, he went over the entranceway, the udon, inside of the house, genitive here. Hure, but he found the leaders of the and the rulers of the Phaeacians, and he found them spendontas, pouring libations. This is a dative plural from depas. With their cups, pouring libations to the keen-sighted slayer of Argos. You get the fon root here from pheno, to slay, and this is referring to Argus. This is the dog, which is that animal that's got many 100,000s of eyes and so on. And the slayer of Argos, of course, is Hermes in Greek mythology. So they were pouring a libation with their cups to keep the keen-sighted Hermes, slayer of Argos. Now we get an iterative form here. We get the same verb spendo. You get spendomai in late Greek. So they were pouring libations continually. We get the iterative sk infix here. To him, pumato, last of all. Well, that's because this is the end of the evening, and as Homer says, when they turned their thoughts to bed, again we've got that artot for ntot. It's a third person plural here, the sonant n written as an alpha. So they turned their so they were pouring libations to him last of all when they turned their mind to bed, and that's because Hermes, of course, is god of sleep. And that's the next section. Hopefully, now that we've finished the ekphrasis, the Greek will get back to being a little bit easier. But that's the end of this section.